we are here to listen to a webinar on cyberbullying in the frame of the REVIS project, responding to peer violence among children and schools in adjacent settings. And this project is funded by the Rights, Equality and Citizenship Program of the European Union 2014-2020. Please, if you can just go ahead. Yes. It's a project started in January 2 years ago. And it's implemented in 4 countries: Bulgaria, Croatia, Romania, Serbia, with the coordination from Hungary. And giving you a very, very nutshell of the project, you can see some points here. So the main approach of the project is to combat and respond to peer violence through shifting norms. So trying to promote the positive norms, social and gender norms, and trying to change the harmful social and gender norms. The target group in the 4 countries are children and young people and school staff. You can see the numbers here. So in total 40 schools, and in total more than 1,600 children and young people between 13 and 80 years, and also 80 school staff involved in the project. The process has started with the theory. So a curriculum has been developed to explore what are the social norms and gender norms, and what is the connection of these norms and influence on peer violence. Based on this curriculum, for a year in these involved schools, group activities were done with full participation of children. After that, there was a very important process of participatory action research in each country. The aim of this participatory action research was to map the local issues and problems of peer violence in the schools. And with the vision of encouraging, empowering, and giving also the knowledge to these children and young people to start to think on possible solutions. So accompanying them toward the design thinking process. These children, young people came up with very, very nice ideas. We call them prototypes. So ideas, solutions they think could respond to peer violence, to combat peer violence. These prototype ideas were promoted, evaluated. There were also some contests, and there was also the possibility to implement these prototypes in the countries. And the children and young people were also involved in social media campaigns. So as you can see, there are child-led social media campaigns. So it was a very important objective, the empowerment of children and young people and the full participation of them. The project will end very, very soon, in less than 2 weeks. And yes, just to mention what are our very important outputs. One is a very complex and blended curriculum, which was developed in the frame of the project. It contains a training guide for trainers and facilitators, so school staff that works with children. There is also a related e-learning course, always on the same topic, so how to respond to peer violence via shifting norms. And we had also webinars. The webinars, materials, and recordings are uploaded on Child Hub. There is also a useful info guide developed for parents, because also the parents' role is very important in combating peer violence. And you can see in the bottom of my slide the link of the dedicated web page of REVIS project on Child Hub, where you can find a lot of interesting articles on these amazing project activities, useful tools and materials, webinar recordings. So please come and visit. And to connect REVIS projects with the topic of the webinar of today is having discussions, feedback from my colleagues working in the 4 countries. We saw that peer violence is experimented in wide range, via very various formats. And cyberbullying is a very common phenomenon, unfortunately. And people working in schools, working with children, would be very, very curious, very keen to know more about cyberbullying, about the phenomenon, but also to have some practices, how to respond to it. So that's why we thought that in the frame of the REVIS project, a webinar on cyberbullying, guidance, advices, knowledge shared by an expert could be very, very useful. So that's why we invited Gabriella. We are very happy to have her here. And I give the floor now to her to introduce herself and start her intervention. Thank you.
Hi, welcome everyone. First, I would like to ask Kruna if we have the polls, the results of the polls.
I'm launching the other poll now, the one where we are asking about your profession and where are you coming from. So please, while Gabriela is maybe introducing herself or saying hi to all, please, if you can answer the questions. But I see they're answering really fast. So let's give them 2 minutes and then I'll share the results.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. Okay, so I think I start to share my screen and then I opt out again to see the polls. Okay, so
okay,
I have a slide, an introductory slide. So, it says that host disabled participant screen sharing. So I cannot.
Okay, I'll just a second. Okay, now you should be able to share.
Okay, yes. All right. Okay, can you see my slide now, my PowerPoint?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so just until the polls come in, actually, I don't know how to get rid of this.
Yes, unfortunately, it's going in this type of screen sharing is going to be here, but we can try. I don't know if, do you think it's going to be a problem? And
yeah, because I won't see my slides, the top of it. But yesterday when we tried it out, there was no,
yes,
it wasn't like this.
Yes, I don't know why it's okay.
Should I try to just share my PowerPoint and not the whole screen, maybe?
Okay, let's try that and see if
okay.
it's
Okay, I try that. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry for the technical issues. Okay. Oh no, it's the same. Okay, let's do it like this.
Okay, but it's, do you see the above or something?
Okay, it's all right. Somehow I will.
Ooh, okay, no, it's not working. Now we see the whole black screen. So if you can.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, try in the first way.
Okay, so we will solve it somehow. Okay, so just a few sentences in the beginning, because we are already just to be on time. So I studied law and psychology, and I ended up at the criminology department at the University of Pécs at the Faculty of Law. And I'm really interested. I have been interested for a very long time now in school bullying and cyberbullying, and also trauma and criminal psychology. How I came to this, how I ended up dealing with this topic is actually through school shootings, because I was researching school shootings. I wrote my PhD about it. I also, a book was published by me about school shootings, and that's how I got interested in school violence. And then I started to work in the field of bullying and cyberbullying, because I was, it's also not a happy topic, but at least I think you can do a lot to prevent bullying and cyberbullying. And I was very interested in this. So to combine research and practice and actually help children in their everyday lives not to be abused. I also became a member of the Peaceful Schools project in Hungary, and I'm very much invested in that as well. I really believe in that program. So that's who I am, and that's how I ended up here with you in this webinar today. And now I would like to ask Kruna if we have the...
Yes, we do. I'll share the results.
Okay.
Do you see the poll? If it's
yes.
Yes.
So we have we have teachers, social service professionals, some researchers, a few parents, students, a law enforcement officer, very good, and mental health professionals and other, and maybe, yeah, oh, okay. And I see also from which countries you are from. Thank you so much. So before I begin, I can tell you that I made these slides or this webinar mainly with teachers in mind and schools in mind, because I got the instruction to make it very practice oriented. So if I speak a lot about teachers and schools, that is the reason, but that doesn't mean that it won't be useful for other professionals. So I'm sure, or I hope I can give a lot of tools for other professions as well. So as I said, I try to be very practice oriented, but better research based, of course, and of course I cannot give you magic solutions to the problem of cyberbullying, but I collected many free resources for you, because as far as I know your situation, based off how the situation in Hungary is, very often the problem with preventing and dealing with cyberbullying and bullying is that there are no really systematic approaches in place, and not much money in the education system that you can use to deal with these kind of problems. So that's why I really focused on collecting very useful free resources for you in English, because that's our common language here. And I really hope that this will be helpful to you. This will be helpful to you, because we can cover only so much in 1 hour. So I cannot tell you everything in 1 hour, but I can give you many resources. And the other thing is that oh, and by the way, these resources doesn't mention the Terre des Hommes resources, because you are already familiar with that. So that's why I left it out. And I was really happy to hear Marta speaking about the project's main focuses or main principles, which is engaging students in the solution and shifting norms, because these are really the basics of the solutions to cyberbullying as well. The last thing is that I wrote pretty many things on the slides, and the reason for that is that none of us is a native speaker. So I thought it would be helpful for you to also see what I'm speaking about, because maybe my pronunciation is not the best. Okay, so now I share my screen again. Okay, so oh, you see, Kruna, it disappeared. Great. So but now it doesn't want to. Yeah, okay. So I give you a very short overview what we will tackling today. So first, in the first part, I will tell you some facts about what we know about bullying and what we know about cyberbullying, the characteristics, the forms, the why. So why do kids cyberbully or bully others, and about the consequences, just very shortly, because I'm sure you are familiar with that. And then I will speak about what we can do as schools and as teachers, because I said I focused mainly on that. But of course, it will be, I hope it will be also useful for parents or for people from the social services. Okay, so in order to speak about cyberbullying, we cannot avoid to speak about bullying, because cyberbullying is basically bullying in another setting with some specific characteristics. So to understand bullying and the phenomenon of bullying, you might be familiar with that, but I was not sure. So I brought you a video that we always show when we speak about cyberbullying, me and my colleagues. This is made by the Swedish anti-bullying center called Friends, and this is a very short video that I can use to show you the characteristics of bullying. Right, so that was the video. I hope you could hear and see it. And we can use this as a starting point. So what have we seen here? We saw a little boy who was made fun of by older, bigger boys, who was a group of boys. And that is what we call in every bullying situation a power imbalance. So the power imbalance is really the essence of every bullying situation. And the power imbalance can be constituted by many things. So it doesn't have to be physical things. People can have more power because of their social status as well, or people can have less power because they are in a very vulnerable position, because they for example, children whose parents are currently going through a divorce, or they lost someone recently, a loved one recently, they can be in such a vulnerable position that another kid or a group of kids can have much more power just because this kid is in such a vulnerable position. So that's what we call power imbalance, and that is what we call observed or perceived power imbalance. So observed power imbalance is what you can easily see, and perceived is something that's not so obvious at the first sight. So, for example, what I mentioned, the social status differences between kids, or the vulnerability or the higher vulnerability of one of the kids. So I don't know if probably you can see the
Yes, I think it's a problem maybe because of the chat. Every time if something gets in the chat.
So it says only that bullying is any unwanted aggressive behavior by another youth or group of youth who are not siblings or current dating partners. Not sibling or current dating partner is only important because those have a little bit different dynamics, because so that is regarded as dating violence or family violence, and we don't regard it as classic bullying situations. And the first important characteristic of bullying is power imbalance. The next one is repetition, or the high likelihood of repetition, and that is what we saw in the video when the group of boys came again the next day and tried to make fun of the little redhead boy the next day as well. Of course, here in this video, I like this video because you see immediately a solution to this problem, and the non-violent practically a non-violent and very indirect solution, and it still helps a lot, that a bystander boy who just sits there, but he is also big and has more social power than the little boy. He also dyes his hair red and shows his solidarity with the little boy, and that is enough to stop the bullying behavior. So I really like that part of the video. But to go back to the definition, we also, so bullying is considered to inflict harm or distress on the targeted youth, including physical, psychological, social, or educational harm. Social harm is that someone might be excluded from the social group, or from the class, from the group of friends, due to being bullied. And educational harm is very understandable. So if someone is constantly focused on being bullied and of the fear and anxiety that it has as a consequence, it's very hard to concentrate on the studies and on learning. And I think it's really easy to learn the characteristics of bullying with these three little words: power, pattern, and purpose. So the power imbalance. Pattern is the regularity, the repeatedness of the bullying behavior. And purpose, there is some debate among researchers if there must be intention, if there must be purpose behind the bullying situations, but very often there is purpose. So I think it's really easy to remember that power, pattern, and purpose if we want to decide in real life if a situation is a bullying situation or not. Okay, so this is just a typical bullying situation. Here we see also a group of youth, and attacking another one and asking for his shoes and threatening him that they will be here every day. And we can see the consequence that the boy is really scared. And then we can see a girl using her cell phone to probably record this situation. So it also constitutes already cyberbullying. But of course, she is understating it towards adults and saying it was only joking. So very often kids use excuses for their bullying behavior, and we should be aware of that, and we should be very careful if we or what do we believe. So we should really evaluate the situation deeply to understand what's going on. And of course, bullying happens usually in places where there is no adult supervision or not enough adult supervision, like on the way to school, from school, on the school bus, or in the bathrooms, or on the courtyard, and of course on the internet, because on the internet there is also much less supervision. So let's speak about cyberbullying then. So cyberbullying involves very similar behaviors to bullying, to face-to-face bullying, but it differs in the following ways. And probably you all know that. I just wanted to summarize it for you. So the time and location. Cyberbullying is in some ways much harder to escape because it can happen all day, every day, and also while the student is at home. So only if you know how to block, how to report, how to switch off, then you can defend yourself. But it really has to be taught to students how they can defend themselves against cyberbullying, because it might be very hard for them, especially if they don't want to quit social media platforms, which is very important in their lives. Also, that we know that cyberbullying, so repetition with cyberbullying can happen already with one act by one student, because if one student shares something online or uploads something online, and other people share it or forward it, the repetition already happened. Repetition with or repeated action with cyberbullying can happen in a matter of minutes, and to an extremely large audience in some cases. And even if it is not a large audience, there is this imaginary audience in the head of the cyberbullied child that they never really know how many people have seen the content that they find shameful or hurtful, and that is an extra torment for the child who was cyberbullied. The child or children who are cyberbullying others might do it anonymously. It doesn't have to be anonymous, that's a hard word to pronounce, but it can be, and that makes them even more powerful. So the power imbalance can happen just by the fact that the one party is anonymous. Of course, in the online space, as we know, as it happens with adults as well, we don't always feel the heaviness of our words, and there is no immediate feedback, or often there is no immediate feedback, or we don't feel the consequences that we are causing. Especially with young kids, we really have to teach them how words wound, and that they have to be empathetic, even though they don't see the suffering of the other. But there is also some positive news, I think, some good news in a way, because with cyberbullying, you always have, so if you are quick enough or if you are aware how you can document what happened and how you can save evidence, it's much easier to get evidence of cyberbullying than of face-to-face bullying, because you can take screenshots, you can make recordings, you can do so many things, and there is the even in the computers themselves, everything or every activity can be seen afterwards by a person who is familiar with IT techniques. So I think that's a positive thing to know. And yeah, the definition of cyberbullying. There is always debate about which definition we should use. I like to use the one of Hinduya and Pechin. They say cyberbullying refers to intentional and repeated harm that others inflict via digital device. So I think that's a very useful definition. But you can ask your student. So this is just a little idea from a site that is called Better Internet for Kids. It's a site by the European Union, and it says that you can ask your students to define cyberbullying. So when you have a conversation with your students or with your child, if you are a parent, you can ask them to do their definitions and then you can match it. You can ask if it matches yours or the definitions of their peers. You can have a really nice conversation about it, because it's not that obvious what constitutes cyberbullying. There are so many forms of cyberbullying, like we will see in a moment. Before that, I would like to tell you, just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little case of cyberbullying, to show you some characteristics of cyberbullying. This is a case from the book Words Wound by Justin Pechin and Samir Hinduja, and it goes as following. So my best friend and I weren't friends anymore. She was well liked in school, so she ended up turning everyone against me. The bullying first started with girls threatening to jump me and saying that I had had sex with every guy on the basketball team. I felt betrayed and miserable. Then one day I got on Facebook, and there were so many guys asking to be my friend and sending sexual messages to me. I also had girls tagging me in rude pics and comments. And there was a page up that listed all the guys and girls I had had sex with, but none of it was true. I started not caring about myself and how I dressed or looked. My grades started to drop. I didn't eat lunch because everyone I used to sit with was against me. So I think this is a very good example, because it shows the different forms, how cyberbullying can happen. It shows as well that cyberbullying and bullying can happen interconnectedly. So it's very often the case is that bullying and cyberbullying overlap, and the same kid who is being bullied face-to-face is also being bullied in the online space. And we can also hear of some of the harms that cyberbullying can cause, and bullying. Okay, so it's really a pity that I cannot.
I Googled if you click on more. Try to see more there, and I think there should be hide floating meeting controls.
Okay.
If you click that.
Great! Oh, thank you, Kruna, so much. Okay, so now, because I realize that I won't be able to speak about every form of cyberbullying with you, so I just show you that even research papers, even official sites, have so many different forms, or list so many different forms of cyberbullying, because there are new and new forms of cyberbullying every day, practically, with new techniques or devices emerging. So you will get the slides, by the way, these slides for sure. So you will have you can read through it, but just to show you. So this is, for example, from a research book called Violence in Education, and they list these forms of cyberbullying. But there is stopbullying.com gov side, US side, which lists a lot other forms. And then we also have, for example, these very important research paper, by the way, by Bodzer and colleagues, which was commissioned, the research itself was commissioned by the EU, and it has also so many other forms. And you can see there are some like very interesting words that is used to refer to these forms. So these are not really scientific expressions, because we don't have scientific expressions for many forms, because they change all the time. So we leave it with at that at this point, and I just want to tell you the most important part of bullying and about bullying and cyberbullying, which you must know from the REVIS project as well, that bullying and cyberbullying as well is always a group phenomenon. So first, like decades ago, they thought that it is between the child who is being bullied and the bullying child. But no, it's always about the whole group where it happens. And if it is in the cyberspace, then the whole group that is involved in the online space. And the student who is being bullied or who is affected by bullying is only a symptom carrier of a pathologically functioning group. So that's why it's not a real solution if someone leaves the group, which is very often the case. I don't know what's the situation in your schools or countries, but I can tell you that in Hungary, very often either the kid who is being bullied leaves the school, or the kid who is showing the bullying behavior is asked to leave the school, and that is not a long-term solution. So the bullying or the cyberbullying will emerge after a time again, because the real problem, the norms, the social norms, the informal norms, and the knowledge of the kids, the social emotional skills of the kids weren't dealt with. So and the norms weren't changed. That's why we always speak about the role of the bystanders, and that's true for face-to-face bullying and cyberbullying as well. And it's not only about convincing kids to be a positive bystander and do positive acts. It's also about stopping the negative bystanders, so who encourage bullying. It also it has to be a parallel process. We have to stop the negative bystanders and at the same time engage and activate the possible defenders to defend the kid who is being bullied. And also in this picture you see expressions like follower, henchman, or passively supporter, but nowadays we tend to use tend to not use these labels. So that's why I try to, because labeling is very, very stigmatizing. So we try to differentiate between the person and the behavior. So we always try to speak. When I say we, I think I speak for many of my colleagues. So we try to say the kid who is showing bullying behavior, or the kid who is showing active support for bullying behavior, to communicate that the behavior can be changed, and we don't despise the person itself. We only want the behavior to stop, and that's very important for me, for you to know. What can be a motive behind the cyberbullying behavior? I think you might be interested in that. So it can be a lot of things besides. So although it's a group phenomenon, of course, a child who is bullying the other one can have a lot of personal motives, but that doesn't mean that that it's only on him. So it's or on her. But the feelings or the emotions or the needs that are behind the bullying behavior might be that it is okay, that's not a feeling. So it might be an extension of bullying offline. So it might be like an extra bullying, the cyberbullying. It might be revenge seeking because the person thinks that he was wronged in some way. Very often it is about power. So they want to feel better about themselves. They want to have a better position in the community. Or it might be displacement, like it says, so that some bullies are the victim of bullying themselves and seek to displace their feelings about their own abuse by targeting someone else with the same behavior. So that we have to be aware of that possibility as well. And of course, there is always the possibility that it is just to get attention from other, from other users, but that's also a little bit about power, I think. And a very important thing is the last one. So if it is if an individual or a group is attacked based on characteristics like identity characteristics, we call these identity-based bullying, and it can in some cases it constitutes hate speech. So we have to make students aware of that as well, that with some bullying and cyberbullying behavior, they can easily commit crimes. So that's very important to know. Okay, some very interesting phenomenon is digital self-harm. I don't know if you have heard about this, but I really wanted to mention it, although we don't know the real numbers. But I wanted you to know or to hear about it. So this is there is a very good book called Middle School Matters by a practitioner and a school counselor, and she wrote about this in her book about this phenomenon called digital self-harm. So he cites the case when a 14-year-old girl died by suicide in England in 2013, and the investigators found out that she had sent 98% of the cyberbullying messages to herself, which was really a surprising fact. And after this, researchers started to look into this, and they tried to find out what can be the motive behind digital self-harm, the so-called digital self-harm that someone sends himself or herself very, very hurtful content. So there are some possibilities, what can be the motive behind it. It might be that someone felt sad and needed the attention from others, or wanted to prove if someone was really the friend or a friend, and would reach out if he or she saw that what's happening online. Or self-hatred can be behind it as well, because the person already felt bad or just wanted to make herself feel even worse, or himself, to make others worry, to show others that she can bear this torment, or to start some kind of argument. That came up also as a possibility, but it doesn't matter which motive is really behind digital self-harm. If we become aware that someone is intentionally hurting herself online, her reputation or her self-image online, we always should take it as seriously as any other cyberbullying case, because it might be a really a cry for help, or a cry of pain, and I think that this behavior always show some kind of suffering, so we should take it very seriously. All right, so the last thing about this part is so what do we know about cyberbullying? Is four things. So one is that the rate of cyberbullying is still lower than the rate of face-to-face bullying victimization. And the reason is very a very obvious reason, because bullying, so there is almost no cyberbullying happening without face-to-face bullying. There might some happen without face-to-face bullying, but in many cases face-to-face bullying is the starting point, and cyberbullying is added to that. So that's why there are still more face-to-face bullying cases than cyberbullying cases. The COVID situation was special, so let's not go into that. But now we are back to normal, let's say. The other thing that we have to know about cyberbullying is that cyberbullying students were less likely to notify an adult than a face-to-face bullying victim. And that's very important, because it has also a quite easy reason. Kids really are afraid that the only answer will be that they should avoid social media sites, or quit social media sites, or not use their devices as much, or not look at online comments or something like that. And they don't want to lose that, because then they lose even that part of community that where they have friends, or where they feel welcomed. And so it's a self-exclusion if they don't use social media platforms. And of course, I don't want to give you the feeling that I want every child to use social media platforms, not at all. But I just tell you that if someone is already using social media sites and the internet on a regular basis and is being cyberbullied, they might be afraid that the only answer will be from the side of the adults to quit it. Okay, so, and also they are afraid that adults will only make things worse. That's also true. Okay, so I already spoke about the last two. That's why I will skip them. And consequences very, very shortly. So the most serious consequences appear to so the people who appear to be at greatest risk for for negative mental health outcomes and negative emotional and behavioral outcomes are the ones who both bully others and are themselves bullied. So there is a group of students who are on both sides, and they are at a heightened risk for every outcome, short-term and long-term. So we have to be especially careful when seeing a situation like that or meeting a student in that position. And that's why we say that bullying is not only an educational challenge, but a public health issue, because the long-term consequences will generate public health issues. Okay, so let's go to the part that probably everyone is most interested in, what we can do about it. So what can schools do about it? Okay, I don't know if there is anyone who in the audience who is in the position to make changes on a school level, but there might be. So I thought I will give a brief overview of what can a school do. So the pillars of every intervention and prevention framework are three things. And I put this plant here because I use it to explain it. So if we want to grow a plant, like a beautiful rose bush, like you see here, we need, the first thing we need is a flower pot. That's the system itself. So we need to have policies and procedures in place for the whole school to avoid ad hoc solutions, you know, from case to case. And we really should avoid that that our answers to bullying and cyberbullying problems in the school are differing from case to case, and it differs based on which teacher gets to know about it or which adult answers it. It's really not, it doesn't give us the sense of safety to anyone in the school. So that's why a system like a flower pot for a flower is really important if we want to tackle or deal with bullying and cyberbullying on the long term. The other thing we need is, of course, good methods, and that's the water that we give our plant. So if we are speaking about cyberbullying, we really need, oh, sorry, I just realized I didn't write it in the proper way, but anyway, so we need a cyberbullying protocol that is, and also for after the bullying has stopped, we need restorative methods to work with the community. We also need restorative methods to for the prevention part. So when we are enhancing social emotional skills with in the children, and other methods as well. So I just meant by methods like we have to really look for non-punitive methods that can that is corresponding with our principles, which is the third pillar, which is our approach and our principles. So this is really the soil of the prevention and intervention framework. And this is, by the way, what you spoke about in the REVIS project as well. So the norms that we are basing our systems and methods on are part of this approach. And here I just listed some of them, and VK is the nonviolent communication, and mentalization is a very important psychological skill to understand what happens in us and in the others, and to act upon it in a proper way. And the trauma-informed approach, maybe you have heard about that, because I don't want to go into that now, but trauma and bullying can be very much connected in some cases. So all in all, we need all three to have long-term solutions. The other thing is with cyberbullying that we cyberbullying is actually in the it should also be mentioned in our bullying policies and procedures, and also the online safety policies and procedures of a school. So there is an overlap between the two when we speak about cyberbullying. So we have to be aware of that if we are thinking about implementing policies and procedures. Okay, so here comes a part which is a longer part, but I try to go over quickly. So this is a checklist for effective school policies and procedures for online safety. And it's very, very similar to the checklist for effective policies and procedures for bullying and anti-bullying policies and anti-cyberbullying policies. So you will see many similarities. That's why, because it's already 5 o'clock, I might just go over it and go over to the bullying policies and procedures or the checklist for that. But I will read out loud to you the most important parts. So you have to engage all staff, students, parents, and carers about the online safety issues, also considering every group, the vulnerable groups as well. This is what I called in the previous slide, the systematic approach. So you have to speak with everyone. You also, it is really advised to organize a team that is a first point of contact for everyone who deals with a problem, an online safety problem, and we also have to support this team, like in every way that they can function. We have to embed, of course, every policy within the existing national and territory laws and policies. And we have to be very clear about the procedures that we want to see with the use of digital devices, with the response pathways, what happens when there is an online incident. And we should set also very clear expectations for how the members of this school community should behave online. And the last ones are, we have to outline how the school will communicate with the parents. And we also have to communicate what will happen if an incident occurs. So not just when will we communicate it, but also what will be the consequences of an online safety issue. And we have to make this information available in every possible way. And of course, we have to review these policies regularly. And this is just one slide because it's basically very similar. So it's about the procedures for bullying and cyberbullying, the policies for bullying and cyberbullying. So we see here as well the systemic long-term research-based program implementation that is really recommended. But of course, it is usually not up to you. It is up to the institutions or the Ministry of Education if these programs, which cost a lot of money or are licensed programs, if you can implement it or not. But you can still, even though if you don't have an anti-bullying program, you can still train all school citizens with free resources that I will mention in a moment. And it's really important to engage parents as well. So not only students, not only teachers, but parents as well, like Marta mentioned as well in her introductory speech. Two really important things are as well the anti-bullying team and the reporting mechanisms. So if you don't have a reporting mechanism, you won't know about cyberbullying cases. So you should really work on that, how children can report if something happens to them. Can they report anonymously? Can they report only in a written form, or can they also do it verbally? Should they write an email? Which email address should it be? Or should there be a box where they can, just put in little notes with their reports? So you should really figure out that it's one of the most important parts. And of course, the cyberbullying protocol. I will speak about that in a moment. And the regular evaluation. So we are at the last part, but maybe the most important part. So what can teachers do, and as well as students? So what can we tell students what to do if a cyberbullying case happens? We can do two things as teachers, or as, okay, I always speak about teachers, but also as social workers or mental health professionals who work in a school. And also in some cases as parents, we can do the same as a teacher. So we can do two things. Prevention by educating children about cyberbullying, but also about online safety, bullying generally, social emotional learning, digital literacy, digital citizenship, and resilience, digital resilience as well. And the other thing is, so this is really the education, the enhancement of skills of children and of ourselves. And the other thing is, what do we do when something already happened? So how do we intervene? This is the intervention part. And we can do this by responding to incidents of cyberbullying or of online safety and bullying. Of course, we are in a much better place if our institutions implemented the previously mentioned policies and procedures, because then we have a protocol we can go back to. We have we can feel safe that we are backed by our institution in our responses, because everyone responds the same way to a cyberbullying situation than we are. So that's safe for everyone, for children and teachers alike and other professionals alike. But if there are no policies and procedures, we are still not alone, because there are really incredible resources online. And I collected many for you. So the education part, because I won't be able to speak about the education and prevention part in detail now. The only thing I can tell you is that we should really avoid fear-based messages when we educate children. So we can get very anxious when we are speaking about bullying and cyberbullying, because these are sometimes really horrific stories, and and especially if we look at the news, we can hear about the most extreme cases. And so we really have to calm ourselves when we speak about bullying and cyberbullying, and about the internet, and try to use positive examples and try to lessen the anxiety kids have, because kids have anxiety as well. So we shouldn't enhance anxiety in them with fear-based messages. And also when we speak to parents, we should avoid that. By the way, something else I forgot to write on the slide. So if we have the suspicion that cyberbullying is already happening in our class, then we should address the specific case, but we shouldn't use a curriculum that deals. So we should really think about, if you use a curriculum, a specific anti-bullying curriculum, because it can be very hard for the people involved currently in the cyberbullying or bullying situation. So we should make sure that the bullying or cyberbullying stops, and that the community is safe again, and then we can implement the cyberbullying or bullying curriculums. In the meantime, we can still use social emotional learning curriculums, or like general online safety curriculums, because these are more safe, even if kids are involved currently in a situation like this. But we have to make sure that the abuse stops as prompt as possible. So I will give you these slides because these are all amazing toolkits, really. I looked at every of them, and there are some from the some EU-funded curriculums. There are some from Australia. They have amazing curriculums. Then there are ones by Google, which I really like. There is the Enable curriculum, which is really great. In Hungary, it is used by many schools. So you can take a look at every of them, and I hope you find it useful. I also collected other sites for you. These are not whole curriculums, but many videos and other content is there that you can use when you work with kids. So it's rather it's also for adults, but there is a lot of content that you can directly use with kids, and maybe you can somehow use a subtitle on the videos, or so you can use it in your language as well. And it's available for some of them. And then the second thing is, what should we do when there is an incident? So when we don't want to prevent, when we are not at the prevention stage, but in the response stage. So first, I thought it would be helpful if we could speak about what we should not do, what we should avoid if a kid is telling us that he or she is being bullied or cyberbullied. By the way, I will use he now as a general pronoun to make things faster. So please avoid telling the victimized child to ignore the bullying, because that's not a bad advice, but normally when they are already reporting it, that means that they were not able to ignore the bullying. The other thing that you should avoid is telling the child to toughen up, to pull himself together, to not be overly sensitive. So we should always remember that a so-called sensitive reaction is actually an adequate reaction to abuse. So it is sometimes even more alarming if someone doesn't react in a sensitive way. It might be it might be that he or she is already feels so helpless that they don't react at all, but that's not a good sign as well. The third thing is, it's also really important to not expect children to solve the bullying or cyberbullying situation alone. So we want children to learn how they can solve conflicts, of course, but there are some but bullying is not a normal conflict, and cyberbullying is not a normal conflict. In bullying and cyberbullying, you always know who will be the winner of the situation. So it's not like an everyday conflict where everyone can come out of the situation in a healthy way. So that's why we always have to help. We always have to help kids in such a situation. We also shouldn't tell the kids that this is just telling on someone, and they shouldn't have told us on the other child. Also, we should really avoid blaming the child. So sometimes children can show behaviors that we don't agree with at all, but we should still make sure that it is obvious that abuse, bullying, and cyberbullying is never the appropriate response. So even if they did something really stupid, we should tell them that this was not appropriate what happened to them afterwards. And the last thing that we should avoid is to sit if we know who the bully or cyberbully was, because very often we know. We should avoid sitting with them down together, because and to discuss the problem, because the power imbalance is still there, and there won't be a real conversation. It might even hurt more the child who is being bullied, this situation. So it is very dangerous to put them in the same room and give space to these very pathological dynamics that are happening between them. So we should sit with them down separately and ask what happened. That is part of the bullying protocol, by the way. So what should we do then when someone is telling us that he's being bullied or cyberbullied? So we should not blame him for the abuse. We should tell him that his safety and well-being is very important to us. Like we can like literally say this. We should always tell the child what steps we want to do, we will do to stop the bullying and cyberbullying. And we should also discourage him from taking revenge on the other kid, if he knows who that was. And we should also tell the student that we will have several follow-up conversations. So we won't leave it at that. We will make sure that the bullying stopped with follow-ups. And also we can, of course, make him aware of helplines, hotlines available, and or can help him find a professional to deal with the negative experiences. Also, we and the child as well can collect or should collect all available data and evidence of the situation. If there is a protocol in place, then we should take that route. But the main thing, even if there is no protocol, as an adult, the most important thing is to stop the abuse, to stop the bullying somehow, and to restore the sense of security as quickly as possible. And to do the follow-ups, as I said, and then afterwards, after everything stopped and we made sure that the bullying and cyberbullying stopped, if it was between kids in our class, then we can use restorative techniques to restore the relationships in the community. But okay, so we spoke about bullying and cyberbullying, but you are even more interested in cyberbullying. So I made sure to include steps that are specific to cyberbullying. So if it is a cyberbullying case, you should still collect evidence. As I said, it's sometimes easier than with face-to-face bullying. So you should copy URLs or take screenshots, but you should always be aware not to take screenshots of nude or sexual images of others under 18. Even the kids who made the photos of themselves should avoid this if possible, because even especially if you are an adult, you shouldn't do this because you commit a crime by doing this. So you should report it immediately, but not by taking screenshots, but by copying the URL the site where you found the harmful sexual content. Okay, so first, what you have to do is to report the cyberbullying after collecting evidence. You should report the cyberbullying material to the social media service where you found it, if it was a social media service. And if the content is not removed within 2 days, then you should report it to your internet safety hotline. And I checked, and you can also call a helpline, you know, what that deals with psychological factors. And I checked for you all the available hotlines and helplines. So in Europe, and it's not only in Europe, so the InHope site collects, or the InHope organization is a network of all internet hotlines, and all or many non-EU countries are in the InHope systems as well. And I checked Bulgaria is, for example, in the InHope system as well. and you can check their site, and you will find every country there listed there, and you can click on your country and see which internet hotlines you can reach in your country, where you can easily report any abuse against children, sexual abuse as well, and other kind of online abuse as well, such as cyberbullying. I listed the Hungarian ones for Hungarians who are listening to me, but you can find your countries as well. And the other thing is that is useful are the safer internet centers within the European Union. And in Hungary, the Biztonságos Internet, the Safer Internet hotline, is also in the InHope network and also in the Safer Internet network. You can use it as a hotline where you can report content, and you can use the Kékvonal, the Blue Line helpline, but many other countries, or almost all countries, have it as well. By the way, they all have the same phone number in the EU. So if you are in another country, you can still use the same phone number to reach a helpline than you are used to in your own country. That's very helpful as well. So you can use this as adults as well, the reporting mechanisms, and as a child as well. By the way, as a teacher, you can use it if you got permission from the parent or the child, but in some cases, if there is a criminal act involved and you don't have to have their agreement, you can still contact the child services or report these incidents. And the last slide is about sexting, because I think you probably are interested in this. So it's just some specifics that taking prompt action is especially important if it is sexual images of children. So you should be like the minute you get to know of the incident, it is great if you can handle it immediately, and being very careful with the evidence, like I said. So don't screenshot these sexual images, and of course try to be open and supportive and try not to judge, which is sometimes not easy for adults if they hear about things kids did online, but we have to earn their trust that they can turn to us if they have a problem, even if they did something that they regret very much. So we should all be there for the children, because we are the role models for them, and in how to support each other and how to not judge each other. So I hope it was useful for you. If you have any questions, we have a couple of minutes left, and you can so you can write me as well if you want to ask something that you didn't have the opportunity to ask today, or if something comes up later. Okay, so thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gabriela. I see we have one question, which I didn't handle. Most of the questions were also about the certificate, so I'll tell about those things later. But for now, we have from Dragana. She's also our focal point in Serbia. Do you see the questions when you open Q&A? Maybe.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes. And she asked about digital self-harming, and about if there are some statistics or research on what percentage is self-digital harming, and when cyberbullying is committed by someone else.
Yeah, I don't know the specific statistics, but I will look it up for you, and I will tell Kruna to put it on the site as well. I have to look into this. I actually read about this a few years ago, and now I didn't look up the statistics again, but I will look into it for you, because I think it's really, but as we know, there are many cases that won't come on surface, or how do you say, so that you won't know about, but still with that in mind, we might have some statistics that I will send to you, or I will make sure.
Great. Yes, I will put it on the web. If anybody has any question, you can use the option raise hand, and I will allow you to speak if you want, or you can write in the comment section. Any comment or question? I saw participants were commenting how the valuable information you gave, and also, yes, I remembered somebody asked about that video you played at the beginning, if it's possible to get the link on YouTube.
I have to check, because this video goes around and I don't even know if we are allowed to use it, but everyone uses it. So I know it's I should have checked. I will check that as well. Okay. So probably we can use it because it's by friends, and they make like free resources as well to use for bullying prevention. So I will check with them. I think I will write them directly how we can use that video.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all from the questions. If anybody wants to ask anything else, we have 2 more minutes. But at the end, I would like you to please another poll. It's an evaluation one, so we want to know how you liked our webinar. So please, I'm launching it now. So please, before you leave, if you could also fill that poll. And I will leave the link for the certificate. So it's possible to get a certificate for this presentation. I will leave in the chat part, I will leave the link, but it's also in Q&A. I already answered to somebody who was asking about it. Okay, that's all for the technical stuff. I'll check if any questions arrived. No. People are, I don't know if you can see comments, but it was a wonderful session, and everybody is actually seeing that those are valuable and practical tools you gave us. So thank you for that. And Marta.
Yes,
yours also.
Just I wanted to add the same, that thank you very much for this very useful information package, let's say. And I was just thinking that, yes, this is a topic on which, yes, further work would be needed, also project ideas. So, yes, it was great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. It was really hard to decide what to include and what to not include, but as I knew that the slides, or at least some of the slides, will be available and the recording will be available, that's why I wanted to make sure that there are as many resources as possible yeah, that someone can deepen their knowledge going through those links. And
yeah, as you can see also in the comments, commenting our colleagues that a lot of bullying situations in their schools, and yes, they would like to know what to do, and very, very important, very useful to know about these tools. So there are tools that can give us hope that there can be solutions. So yes, this is important.
Sure. For sure. And the amazing thing is, and I didn't realize it as well before this webinar, how many, because now I was looking especially directly for free resources, you know, and not just the ones that I usually use. And it is amazing how many resources there are, and these were all, you know, funded by the EU or some other governments, or some governments or some organizations, and you can use it for free. So you have to put in the work, but you can still work with students even when your school doesn't have systems in place, which would be the ideal solution. But I think that gives us so much hope. So I found it very, I was very happy about it. Yeah.
Yes, and I see everybody is also asking for those materials and information. So I'll just say again that it's going to be available at the page of the webinar where you registered all the materials and the recording of the webinar and additional information Gabriela said she's going to add to it.
Also with your contact details, maybe Gabriela, if you are approachable, let's say, because I saw your email shared on the last slide.
Yes.
So yes, maybe there would be interest from our colleagues to contact you more on this very hot topic. Let's say, it's sad to say, but this is a hot topic. Yes.
Of course. Then we can go into detail in specific questions.
And there is a big engagement of teachers and professionals to help and support. Yes, the problem is always, yes, lacking time, a very high workload, but I'm pretty sure, because also we had same experience in REVIS, that not the motivation and not the engagement is missing in schools from the adults. But yes, these tools can help. Yes.
Yes, although they are all in English, but I think yeah. That might be a problem, but yeah, we can don't do anything about it. So we can translate them and use maybe subtitles for the videos. So it is solvable, I think.
Yeah. And also we can view it in the vision that with a good advocacy, yes, this could be a good aim to have these tools and materials translated to be able to support children and young people.
Exactly.
So yes, let's see it as a starting point.
Okay, let's do that.
Thank you.